PT on Ice Daily Show, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. Welcome to the podcast listeners as well. Jeff Moore, good morning, sir. How we doing? So Jeff Moore, he just sent a lovely email to most of us called Hump Day Hustle. If you do not get that email, I encourage you to do so. Jeff types that up every Tuesday, Tuesday afternoon, evening, ships it out, and it's typically 5 to 6 very, very helpful links for you in your clinical practice. Many of you all read that. We love the feedback. We love the encouragement and the submission of ideas as well. But that just went out to many of you all. But we're here Wednesday morning, Jerry on Ice. Good to see y'all. Today we're going to be talking about carries from the hospital to the gym. Carries from the hospital to the gym. Now we're going to be talking about this today in particular because our online cohort, Modern Management of the Older Adult Essential Foundations, is about to do an assignment on loaded carries, applying it to a particular caseload or a particular case or situation. And this exercise, this activity, we typically save it for the end of the class, but then also the end of the live courses as well, because we want to get some other foundational skills before we introduce the loaded carry. However, in clinical practice, the loaded carry is probably one of the first things that we're going to implement. And we're going to talk about why you can implement it from the hospital all the way across the different settings, all the way to the gym. For me, the loaded carry has been such a great doorway into strength training for many individuals. It can be a very, very safe activity for people to be able to experience higher levels of load, whether they're very experienced, but then also for the people that may not be regular exercisers or relatively new to this type of exercise, especially in more acute settings. So that right there is one of the big reasons why I feel the carry is very, very applicable. It can be that doorway into strength training. Another reason is that you can widely apply it regardless of the setting. So you could be in, let's say, acute care, working with rather sick patients. They've got all the monitoring on. You're having to manage lines and tubes. You're having to provide a lot of assistance for transfers, for example. You can even implement this type of activity with them, leveraging some different pieces of regular exercise equipment or different objects, which I'm going to pull out here in a second, that you could find in a hospital room. And then scale that all the way up to folks in the gym with trap bars and yokes and kettlebells and all that fun stuff. So widely applicable is the second reason. The third reason is it's a very safe activity. It doesn't require a lot of mobility. It doesn't require a lot of skill. And you can do a lot of interesting guarding techniques to ensure safety when you are performing a loaded carry. I found that to be very, very helpful, especially in the home health arena. Jeff Musgrave, good morning, sir. So it's safe, it's widely applicable, and it can be a great doorway into strength training across settings. So that's kind of the why. In terms of loaded carries, in terms of what they are, some of the equipment that we may use. So we like to kind of categorize several different movements or lifts in the category of carries. So we have the traditional suitcase carry. So whenever you hear suitcase, that's when someone's holding a weight to their side, just on one side. If you hear farmer carry, that is on both sides. You can hold those in different positions. So you could do a racked, you could do an overhead carry as well, and you can mix those up. So those are the most common that we're probably going to do with some type of kettlebell or some type of dumbbell as well. But that's not it. We can definitely leverage something like the yoke that you can put on your back, or a trap bar, for example, can be very, very applicable here. We can do weighted vests as well, or even weighted belts. So lots of implements that we can leverage, even common household implements as well, which one of my favorites, especially in the home health arena. All the home health clinicians are going to love this. The stock pot, always a classic. You can load this up with water, make it a little more dynamic, if you will, but then it can also load it up with cans of beans or whatever weight you may find. If you want to really step it up a notch, cast iron, Dutch oven, man, this will get them cooking real quick. And then obviously one that's very common in our world, in the home health world, and other settings too, is kind of a basket or some type of implement. We can load that up and go from point A to point B and make it an appropriate intensity. We would also throw in sleds or prowlers, or kind of pushing an object. In Jerry PT, we can do something like leverage a rollator, for example. Put the brakes on the rollator, put a weight right on that seat, and we can push that object, and that's going to get a similar stimulus in kind of that carry category. We could also mention pulls as well, where we're pulling an object. So that's kind of what we think about in terms of carries. But by and large, for most of us, the implement that we're going to use is the lovely kettlebell. The lovely kettlebell here. So the kettlebell, what I want you all to think about with this is it can be rather intimidating, especially with some of your folks that may not be using these types of weights very, very often. That can be rather challenging and be intimidating for you to actually trust them with this type of weight. You want to use something like this gait belt or a strap. The gait belt can be very, very helpful here. All right. So what we typically do in terms of guarding for leveraging something like a kettlebell is we take the loop, go through the handle like so, and then I'm going to take that kettlebell handle through the other side of the belt, boom, and then do just like that. And that way you can hold on to that kettlebell or that gait belt, excuse me, for if it does happen to slip, then you can gently guide that kettlebell down to the ground. So you don't have to worry that it's going to fall on their foot or even your foot and get injured. You could also have another gait belt around the waist. So you are nice and solid with that in terms of safety. Another thing that we do want to mention is that you don't have to start off with the typical, walking from point A to point B. A loaded carry could literally be a hold. And that's going to be more applicable for many of you all in the acute setting for sure. That you can leverage something like a hold where you're just holding the weight. You may have one stance of support. You could start with a little bit of movement like stepping while you're holding on to something. You may start to ambulate with something like a walking stick, a single point cane, or some type of handheld assistance. That's something that we can leverage as well. All right, so you don't have to start with that full-blown loaded carry. You can go to something like a more of a static hold and then progress there and provide a little bit of support, and you can pull that supportive weight. So very applicable for many of the folks that we're working with. Now, I want to talk about a few different scenarios that I find this to be very, very helpful. And that is going to be in a few scenarios. The first one I want to mention is with someone that has cognitive impairment. With someone that has cognitive impairment. So it can be challenging to get individuals to perform appropriate intensity in terms of their exercises if cognitive impairment is on board. Our cues and our coaching and our words may not land like we hope that they will. So something like a common object around the household and loading it up and taking it from point A to point B. Take this stock pot, take it over there. Very simple cueing that many people can actually follow. So very helpful there. It can be helpful in a scenario like a remom or a rehab every minute on the minute, where you want to sprinkle in a little bit of conditioning in that session in between some of the different activities that you've chosen. That can be a great way to spice things up. Put some object manipulation in there, go from point A to point B, or a static hold, for example, and that can be a very, very helpful scenario. The third one that I really want to emphasize too is for those individuals that may be new to lifting relatively heavier weights, you can just have them hold the weight, whether in front, to the side, behind them, racked position, a goblet position right underneath their chin. That can be such a great way for folks to experience what a higher intensity is that can help get to the point where you may be doing something like a squat, something like a deadlift, for example. So loaded carry, those are some things I want to leave you with. I'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of how you leverage it in the clinic or the different settings. What have you found to be helpful? Hit me up, drop a comment on this Facebook video or the Instagram video as well. If you're on the podcast, hit us up on social media. We'd love to hear how you leverage this movement in your practice. Before we go, I do want to mention we are launching our next cohort of modern management of the older adult essential foundations on January 6th. Of 2021, we are already half full. So the fact that we are at half capacity and it is the 9th of December, this course is going to sell out. So if you are wanting to get into that cohort, start 2021 strong, especially when it's kind of a quieter, slower time for many folks, then hop on in. So ptonice.com, go to courses and then online courses, and you can find the link there. So hope y'all have a lovely Wednesday. I will see y'all tomorrow as well for Leadership Thursday, but y'all have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.